Blog Talk Radio.
Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, across this great country. It's time to move the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame out of the way. Move the Q out, the Jake, whatever you want to call, hold up on the Cleveland Browns. This is the American Sports History Podcast, hosted by my good friend, a brother, a mentor, Peter Ray. Yours truly, Mark Mancini, producing it. 347-205-9631. You can catch the archive version on blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. Whatever your podcast subscriptions are, it's now powered by Mancini Media. So without further ado, as I lay the red carpet down, put the podium in its place, and hand off the mic, first of all, Peter, how are you? Second of all, how can people get a hold of you? Third of all, momentarily, you should have another legend coming through here. Host of the Rude Dog Show, Rudy Reyes, will be joining us in a few minutes.
Oh, hi, Mark. I'm doing well. I have a YouTube channel. It's my name, Peter J. Ray, R-E-A, and you're absolutely right about tonight's guest, who is from. He's from San Bernardino, California, a former weather traffic reporter at iHeartMedia, Inc. He has the RudeDogShow.com, owner and founder at the Rude Dog Entertainment, and he's also an executive key accounts at Nexstar Media Group. And he's Rudy Reyes, our guest tonight. He has the Rude Dog Show. He's been doing the NFL draft for 8 years. That's amazing. And also the ESPY Awards. We were going to, tonight, we're waiting for him to come on, and we were planning to talk about pro sports over the past 20 years. And first of all, with the NFL, and as we as you look at the NFL going back 20 years, one thing obviously that jumps out is Tom Brady's career, and it's just hard to believe how here he's still around, and just incredible how, and I guess people have reevaluated Bill Belichick since Brady goes to Tampa and wins immediately, so that's really something. And then, you had the Giants, New York Giants. They've had some strong years, real domination by the Patriots, and mostly the Patriots. And then you had some breakthrough teams, the Saints in 2010, getting their first championship, which was a lot of fun, and Baltimore Ravens a couple. Now, as we're moving toward the current time, we've got some, last year, as I said, Tampa Bay. Kansas City, of course, they win one and lose one. The Philadelphia Eagles, and it's kind of sad with Carson Wentz seems to be having a tough time. So, but anyway, that's, I hope he can turn things around. Seattle Seahawks, they had, and of course that game, the Super Bowl, where they defeated San Francisco, and this fella who's gotten into politics big time, his name doesn't come to mind, but anyway, the NFL is an interesting sport. All the the teams that become contenders, and then they of course they often go into go into a decline. Now, looking at baseball, I think actually the 2000s you had the beginning, the Yankees kind of coming to the end of their domination. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2001, that was the shocker when they knocked off. And actually Mariano Rivera, the guy you never think is going to blow a save, that's tough in Game 7. But anyway, it was nice because that's Arizona's only championship. And then the San Francisco Giants, pretty interesting how they ended up winning like 3 titles in 5 years. And, had their first ever. 2003, the Florida Marlins beat the Yankees. All apologies to Yankee fans. I was kind of happy about it because, like a lot of people, I'm kind of tired of, I respect the Yankee tradition, but it was, I guess, there is this jealousy that people feel. And, of course, 2004, there's been a lot of title droughts coming to an end. The Red Sox in 2004, and I was rooting so hard for them. I remember I was in the Philippines, and I was walking in the National Bookstore, and they had this sound system and said, and Curt Schilling, and I stopped. I just froze in my tracks because I was rooting so hard for the Red Sox. And Curt Schilling and the Red Sox have defeated the New York Yankees, and I think it was the ALCS, of course, that famous game with the bloody sack. And then in 2007, they come up back, and of course, they beat us, and Cleveland's up 3-1. So it seems like these teams, when they finally are able to win a championship, that often leads to winning more. We got 45 people listening. I hope everyone's well out there. Dale from Warren, Ohio. At the NBA frenzy, along with the MLB trading deadline, the Cubs looking like the Godfather chopping legs, according to Mark Mancini, the fine producer of this show. And so anyway, baseball. And then what was interesting in baseball, how in 2005, here the Red Sox end an 86-year title drought. Here, I guess I shouldn't feel so bad here in Cleveland. Now it's only, it's 52. It's 73 years. I was really thinking this, and it could be our year in Cleveland because to win the championship, because I became a fan in '73, and it's been what was I going to say? Since 1948, it's 73 years, and so when of course you're always hopeful. I'm always remaining hopeful. And I'm hopeful this year. I've been saying the Indians are going to win the World Series every year. And so there's no reason to stop now. And we lost, it could be like the Major League when the guy was in the hospital here, Terry Francona, had hip surgery, and he's going to have a steel rod stuck in his leg, and he has to step away from the team. I thought Sandy Alomar Jr. was going to manage, but they got this other fella in whose name doesn't come to mind. Michael from Roxbury, Massachusetts. Welcome. Thanks for listening to show, Michael. And Red Sox Dodgers World Series. Any thoughts about that? Now, I guess he's talking about, let's see, that was in 2018 when the the Red Sox won in 5. This Adam Benintendi, I remember there's a great photograph of him in left field making a big catch. Yeah, you're kind of hitting me on. I'm not, when you're a historian, you can have big gaps in your history. But, again, the Red Sox win again, 04, 07, and 18, so 3 titles. And so they broke through. The Dodgers last year, even though there was this bubble, but it was, they hadn't won since 88, so that was 32 years. That was a long time. Still waiting on Rodi Reyes. Hope we can make it. And we'll keep going. I was actually, with the Houston Astros, I feel like I'm not going to criticize them. Okay, well, whatever they did, the teams are trying to win, and let's give them credit for that. That's my opinion. Let's give them credit for winning the World Series, because that's Houston's. Well, I think the Oilers won a couple AFL titles, and the Rockets won a couple NBA titles, but of course baseball, that was their first and only World Series. In 2016, of course, Cleveland still is. Yeah, boy, I don't know how that still hurts. We lost games 6 and 7 at home. We're up 3-1. Oh boy, it was nice. The Royals won in 2015 again. That was their second. That was 30 years after '85, and then let's see, 20. And they lost. Let's see, the Red Sox. Oh, in 20. I'm sorry here. I think the Red Sox. Yeah, they won in 13. I guess 4 here. They won 4 World Series. So yeah, that's right, 4. So since 2003. So anyway, and moving on to the NBA, you had the Lakers, domination early in the 2000s, and then you had, of course, the Spurs It seems like the Spurs are finally, their run came to an end. The Lakers come back again later, 2009 and 10, and then Dallas. It was nice when Dallas Mavericks won, and then the Miami Heat. Let's see, Oklahoma. Yeah, they beat Oklahoma City. And, well, this, of course, interesting thing, the Golden State Warriors, that whole dynasty just sort of, things come and go. And that's, of course, they had injuries. I think they probably maybe regret picking up Durant because, they were, you can't blame him for it. You can't blame him for wanting to go there because who wouldn't want to go to a strong team? He wanted to win. But then they were just too strong. And, of course, Cleveland was the big loser in that because then it's like, wow, and LeBron gives up on Cleveland and goes to L.A. So anyway, it's his decision. So it's interesting how it's always interesting how things go. And I'm not a great I don't keep up to date, And when you're a historian, you're talking about the whole, going in the course of baseball. That's going way back, and I would say till 1869. So you're talking about 150 years, and for a lot of people, I mean, so you're going to have gaps. And in my case, it's going to be the gaps are in more recent years. So anyway, it's fun, and just talking off the top of where Rudy Reyes can't make it yet. Hopefully he'll come in here. But if you look at baseball, the Yankee history is just incredible. Even though I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of the historical Yankees. It's just so wonderful, all these, it's the history of baseball, and Babe Ruth, who can, I think in the Second World War, they said, the American and Japanese would have foxholes near each other, and the Japanese would be like insulting the Americans, saying, "Go to hell, Babe Ruth," something like that. So, and I was just talking to a guy about Mickey Mantle today, and Mickey Mantle to me is probably, in my opinion, if I had to pick one athlete that transcends generations, he's still remembered now, and some of these guys are kind of forgotten. Well, except for Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is this old. There was a great. One of those classic Red Sox Yankees ALCS. A fan put up a sign. It was in Yankee Stadium, and Red Sox were in town, and Babe Bucky Buckner, and I thought it was great because it was reference to Babe Ruth, Bill Buckner, or Babe Ruth, Bucky Dent, and Bill Buckner. The trading of Babe Ruth back in 1918, and then the 78 Bucky Dent home run at Fenway Park, and then Bill Buckner having the ball go through his legs in the '86 World Series. So a pretty big jump from Babe Ruth to so it just shows from Ruth to Dent, but it just shows how much how much Babe Ruth is remembered, and it's wonderful. And the line from Ruth and Gehrig, and of course the death of Lou Gehrig. It's one of the greatest moments in sports history. Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. At my wedding, I quoted Babe Ruth at the reception because I thought that's the type of person I wanted to be, have a positive attitude. And then Joe DiMaggio, the Yankee Clipper. And I was just talking to a guy today about Roger Maris, who I work as a caregiver, and this old guy said that he, Maris started in Cleveland, and he said he went down and to the field, and he said hi to Roger Maris when he was just a kid, and Maris, looks at hi to him, and it was a big thrill. So, and now looking back, I was born in 1960, so I don't remember 1961, but just imagine 61 home runs in 1961. And then there should be more journalists who will come out and say, yeah, we're sorry, even though Maris has been gone a long time. I think he really was mistreated, and it's good for people to we're all wrong, and we need to say when we're wrong, and it's not too late. His kids would appreciate that. More journalists would come forward and say, we were wrong in how we treated him. And hopefully we can, that's one of the things that bothers me in sports is this, we got to be good to each other. And these guys, they're trying their best out there, and they fail. Obviously, there's going to be failure, so let's not be too hard on them. But anyway, moving on to the NFL, you've got the Green Bay Packers. Huh? Just imagine this small town that's really is the dominant team in the NFL history, and so that tremendous tradition. Curly Lambeau, the Packers started going way back when you had like corporate teams, and there was a meat packing plant in Green Bay, and they had a team. And they're called the Packers. Curly Lambeau apparently, worked in the plant, and then he ended up being like the captain and eventually the owner. And you have Lambeau Field, so that's really cool. It was nice that they in Green Bay when saw a special when what's his name, the guy comes back, Brett Favre comes back, and they were so mad he goes and plays for the Vikings, but he comes back and they cheer for him. We'll see. So that's pretty interesting. Now the NBA, it's been, you had this Laker-Celtic rivalry that went on. That's really old, but it's really, the Lakers really have been very dominant for quite a while since the I mean, since '86, the Celtics have only won one championship, and it's nice. I'm really happy in recent years when teams win. You know, like for example, Milwaukee. But it was so cool at the finals seeing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar here because this is their second title. They won in '71, and it was so cool. I mean, it's a 50-year title drought, which I think is the longest title drought ended in NBA history that a team ends and wins a title after either their last title or starting in the NBA. The NBA is really the worst sport, I think, in terms of, you know, there aren't enough. You have a few teams with many titles, starting with the Lakers and Celtics, and then there's a big jump down to the Bulls with 6, and then the Spurs get up there about 5, and then you move down, and a bunch of them Rockets with 2, and so forth. So it's nice when things are shared because every fan. That's what we want. We all want a championship, and it seems like in the NBA, only a few teams have a shot. But anyway, now in the NHL, I'm not so great about hockey. Cleveland had a strong hockey team in the AHL going back to the 30s and 40s when they had the 2 leagues, and then eventually the NHL became dominant. We didn't have a team. I don't know if we could support 2 teams, so I'm not. I can't. I just know Wayne Gretzky. Of course, he was. And at one point, Edmonton Oilers were a strong team, and New York Rangers. I think that they won 4 in a row. And if you go way back, Bobby Orr. I think Mark Mancini, he could talk more about that. Since Pittsburgh's got the Penguins, I think they've been pretty good. I got a friend up in Detroit. The Red Wings have won quite a few Stanley Cups. It's cool when they hoist the Stanley Cup over their heads, that big silver trophy. And so it's a lot of fun. Baseball history. I just posted today. 1882 Cleveland Blues back. I think they were in the National League. It's just when there was just the one league, and that's 19th century. To me, that's interesting. 19th century baseball. I did a video recently on the first pro basketball, the first national pro basketball league, which started in 1925, and the American Basketball League, almost completely forgotten. And the Cleveland won the first title. Cleveland Rosenblum's named after. So it's nice to. It's as a historian, it's nice to try to figure out or go back and decide. All right, well, this is the beginning. Let's start here. And sometimes they don't feel like doing it. And again, this is what shows my ignorance. Since the caller asked me about the 2018 Red Sox. But anyway, it was a 5-game series. What they're saying that, again, I don't go for, I think what were they criticized for being stealing signs or something, but I don't go for any of that stuff. I don't want to be hard on people. I think that I'd like to see Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame. I'd like to see Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. And of course, everyone's different. I did a lot of research recently on Abraham Lincoln, and the military. That's kind of a hard thing, so they have to be hard on guys. But he was always pardoning guys for they were going to be executed in the Civil War for desertion or whatever, because he just he was soft-hearted, and I guess that's how I am. And it takes all kinds in this world, So hopefully one of these. I always root for the San Diego Padres. That's Mark Mancini's out there because they back in the 70s when I became a fan, I thought, I thought Cleveland didn't have a very good team, and so I thought, all right, I want to find a National League team. That the Padres weren't very good back then. I thought I'm rooting for the Padres, and I was they played 2 World Series. But they won 1 game. They had Kurt Bavacqua in '84. That was so fun because he was the bubble gum. They had to bring that back. The bubble gum blowing contest, the bazooka. There's a baseball card of that. He was a real character. I saw this video recently. I think it was the Game 5. The Tigers were really dominant in '80. One of the greatest teams of all time. And in Game 5, they were up 3-1. It was I think maybe the 8th inning. They had a lead, maybe a 1-run lead, and And Kirk Gibson was up batting for Detroit. Of course, he hit another dramatic home run, more memorable in '88 with the Dodgers. But he was up, and Goose Gossage was on the mound for the Padres, and they had a conference. Greg Nettles, former Cleveland Indian, comes over, former New York Yankee. Steve Garvey comes over from first, the former Dodger great, and manager Dick Williams, the former Oakland A manager. So they have this mound conference, and Gibson hits a home run, and I think it was a 3-run home run. So, and my golly, the Tiger Stadium was just the energy and the noise, because they knew that basically meant, they're up 3-1 and they were so tough, but you have to give the Padres credit for, just like in Cleveland in 2016, okay, we lost the World Series, but, respect for the noble opponent. A 108-year title drought ended for the Cubs in '08, and Cleveland was the noble opponent. So that means something. I think we should give credit to the guys teams that lose the World Series because they won, like Cleveland. It's whatever year they still won their league pennant. And in '54, I don't think Cleveland's ever gotten over 1954, going 111-43, winning percentage over 700, and then getting swept in the World Series. The third baseman, Al Rosen, I read a book. He said he slept for 24 hours after Game 4. They just felt so bad about it, and they just never. I was talking to a guy today about some of these things that stay in our memory. The trade of Rocky Colavito in Cleveland, and in Cleveland, 97 World Series having the lead in the Game 7 and losing it. And then the 2016 up 3-1, we lose. And the funny thing is, I started an organization a few years earlier I called Universal Sports Fan, where I said, fans, if you have a team, okay, that's great, but then you should, if your team is eliminated in the playoffs or not playing in a playoff game, root for the team that has been waiting the longest, like the Cubs, for example, the longest. And so I told myself that, I'm going to, and I even wrote this, I was writing these publications, I said, if the Indians, I wrote this back like in '04, because actually after the Red Sox won in '04, I was very inspired by that, and I felt guilty because back in '86, I was jealous of my brother, Mark, who moved to Boston. He was a big Boston fan. So I rooted against the Red Sox. And I thought, what were you doing? Don't root for New York. They have so many championships. And of course, the Mets did win. And so anyway, in '04, they won. And I was like, yeah. So anyway, I wrote this, did this writing and created an organization that wasn't very big, but that you should support, and I still believe in that, and trying to do a little research, find out the teams that have not, and every year, when it comes to the playoffs and the teams, I go through the teams and find out when was the last title they won for that team, or what was the first year, and then when you put the matchups together, then you know who to root for. And you're going to root for the team that's. And I remember I wrote, if the Indians play the Cubs in the World Series, I'll root for the Cubs, and because they're 40 years, their title drought is 40 years longer, going back to '08. Right in Cleveland, it's 48. And of course, when excuse me, when the time came, I rooted for Cleveland, and I was actually bitter, at least initially, when they lost, because there were so many Cubs fans. Chicago's got a lot more money than Cleveland, and Cleveland fans had, I think, sold their tickets, so it was like a Cubs home game. So, but anyway, since it's over, let's not be. I figured, it's over, so let's try to see the good in it. And yeah, it is, and ultimately, it is. In the grand scheme of things, it is better, not for me personally, but better for more people. Because for 1908, come on, these people have been living all their lives. And I've been living all my life, but that's even longer, 1908. So, and Cleveland's title drought isn't as long as some of these other ones, like the Red Sox, 86 years. We're up to 73, so it's not too bad. So anyway, it's fun. I hope that as fans, we can. So that's something that I recommend is to root for these other teams so they get some support. Root for the Padres. Root for the Buffalo Bills, because lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. That's the worst thing that I can imagine happening. Terribly painful. And I was so happy when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Wonderful. Long title drought going back to like 1961. Root for the Vikings, who lost 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, So that's my opinion, you can. root for these teams because, it's a matter of caring. We should care about each other and don't just care about your team and you don't care about anybody else. Figure out who the teams that have had a long title drought and root for them, whoever they may be. And so that's fun. And it's a lot of fun being. I'm not happy about the Indians changing their name to the Guardians. I think it's absolutely wrong, and I think it's part of this crazy politics now. But anyway, you can't change history, and hopefully, my son was saying, hopefully they'll come to their senses, the owners or a different owner, and bring the name back, or maybe they'll just change their mind and decide it wasn't because I don't think the fans. Not very few fans. I would say I think 1% of the 99% of Cleveland Indians fans don't like this. So why are they ignoring that? But anyway, that was their decision. What are you going to do? You're a fan, and but that's why history is always fun to because history can't. As a sports fan, it's tough because especially when the playoffs come, I get so nervous. It's terrible, And then when your team is probably going to lose because only one team can win the championship. And nowadays you got so many teams that can get in, so you're it was kind of nice in the old days. In the World Series, if you win the league, you're in. Only two teams, so that was nice. Now you can have a tremendous season, like the Mariners back in '01 had a tremendous, incredible year. They won 116 games or something, and they didn't make the World Series. In fact, Cleveland almost knocked them off. So that was unfortunate. I'm hopeful for Cleveland this year because I think anything can happen. It's always good to be. I try to be positive, but it's okay, whatever happens. And I'm happy that Cleveland has a contender in football. It was nice when we got this Nick Chubb, who's a tremendous. This guy, he gets through the line. He can go all the way because he's fast. They can't run him down. He can. Boy, the guy's and he's strong. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Baker Mayfield, and we got Jadeveon Clowney along with Myles Garrett. So again, I'm certainly not an expert on current sports, but I have a greater interest in the past, like the 70s. Yeah, Steelers back in the 70s. Wow, what a tremendous team. Terry Bradshaw. I'm always happy to see Terry Bradshaw. What a incredible team, my golly. And that play, the Immaculate Reception. I was watching that. I don't know, was it 74? And I was telling my son about I think it was Mel Blunt. Was it Mel Blunt or no? Frenchie Fuqua, who was I think the intended receiver on that. He would go out at night on the town wearing glass shoes that had big heels that had small aquariums with goldfish in. And I remember back in the 70s, Joe Namath. My gosh, what a cool guy, coolest guy in the world, and here he's still around. He's promoting Medicare, so that's fun. He's a good guy. That was a lot of fun. And the 70s, Roger Staubach with the Cowboys. They were tough, and so it's fun remembering those teams. And back, Bob Greasy and the Dolphins, and I thought Larry Zonka was a tremendous player. And John Riggins with the Redskins. Oh my God, it's a great. I love these NFL films where they show they slow it down and there's playing music and this announcers and Riggins, one of the Super Bowls. Oh, he's just off on his way, going all the way. Yeah, so that's always fun. I think a lot about the 70s players and teams from the different sports. And Catfish Hunter, one of my favorite players. Well, boy, I was so sad when he got Lou Gehrig's disease. Tremendous player. Yeah, the Oakland A's of the early 70s. Wow, what a team, what a ball team. Really love those guys. And Reggie, I was talking about Reggie Jackson, Billy Martin, and George Steinbrenner. Tremendous, very dramatic. Again, that Yankee, that late '70s Yankees. Lou Piniella, Roy White, and we were talking to the guy today about Chris Chambliss. '76 puts the Yankees in the World Series with a blast, and the fans are on the field. They finally had to crack down on fans getting on. It wasn't safe for the players, and Chambliss couldn't even touch third or home. Yet was running for his life. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, that was, to me, the 70s. I guess that's the era that I know the best, and it's very interesting. Well, dear listeners, you've heard me ramble on and on and on, and hopefully we'll get Rudy Reyes. I guess he couldn't make it. Maybe, hopefully next time. There's a possibility we'll have Jason McMinn next week. And anyway, I wish you well, dear listeners, your teams, and respect for the. Oh yeah. So Rudy Reyes had a doctor's appointment. So God bless him. God bless you, dear listener, and wish you well with your team. And again, win or lose, let's let's try to be respectful. Respect for the noble opponent, because it's there's going to be a loser, and if you try hard, that's why I loved in the Cleveland, the year when Cleveland the Browns lost every game, and near the end of the last game, our quarterback, I can't remember his name offhand, but anyway, he threw a fourth down play. We had a chance of winning the ball game, and he threw the ball, bounced off the receiver's chest. Okay, turned the ball over, we lose the game. I see him later. This guy puts his arm around the receivers, and I thought, that's winning. We have to realize there's winning in sports and winning in life, and winning in life really is the most important thing. So if we can be respectful, give people credit, and give the players credit. Even we're frustrated when the guy strikes out or whatever, or that your team loses, but give both teams credit, the winning and losing teams. So anyway, dear listener, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thanks again, everybody. God bless you. Take care. Good night.